Good afternoon and welcome to Developing Teachers to Improve Lesson Plans Using Technology. My name is Carrie Seligman and I am presenting on behalf of my class in Grand Canyon University, EAD 523, Developing Professional Capacity. Our agenda for today is go over learning objectives, look at what we know about technology in the classroom, look at the different categories of digital tools for the classroom, and then how can we apply the digital tools to lesson activities and or assessments using a very short sample lesson. Our learning objectives for today are: I can identify 2 digital tools that can be integrated into lesson activities for student engagement and assessment. And then I can effectively integrate digital tools to enhance daily lesson plans. This is what we know. Currently in education, there's two dynamics working together. There's a push and a pull factor. The push factor is school is increasingly boring for the student, and they're not wanting to be there. And when they are there, they're very disengaged. But the pull factor for the students is they are very into the digital world. They like the instant gratification that they receive when they're playing their video games, when they're watching their TikToks. Everything is in short snippets, if you will. Everything is quick. And when you put them into a classroom where they don't have that, everything seems long and drawn out. Also, the more technology in the classroom, teachers and students become more of learning partners versus the teacher and the learner. I know personally I have had students walk me through how to work out technical issues even within a lesson. So it's really nice that they feel like they have a one-up on me. They can teach me something that gives them that status that they're looking for. Unfortunately, during COVID-19, we saw there's a huge discrepancy in who has access to stable internet and who does not. Also, with COVID-19, teachers went from teaching in a classroom where we're very comfortable, we knew what we were doing, to, now you're going to teach on the computer. And that took everybody out of their comfort zone. And there are teachers that embraced that and ran with learning about technology. And there are other ones that wanted the bare minimum technology to deal with because they just weren't that comfortable. Now, before we choose a learning tool or a digital learning tool for our classrooms, it's important that we look at our learning standards for our students and our learning objectives. We want to look at what DOK level are we working on? Are we working on level 1, 2, 3, or 4? And what are the skills that kids are doing? What is our success criteria? And how are they going to demonstrate their learning? Depending on the answers to these questions, you might have a variety of different digital tools to choose from, or you may have just a couple. So just as a quick refresher, these are the DOK levels: depth of knowledge, formerly known as Bloom's, verbs. Level 1 is that basic recall. I tell the students something, they repeat it back to me. They read a book, I ask them the who, the what, the when, the where. It's all right on the surface. Traditional activities that we have students do are math calculations, label locations on a map, recall elements, and things such as that. Level 2 concepts, skill and concept, that's where we start having them classify and summarize and using those higher order thinking skills. When we're putting things together for math, now you might have them do multi-step math problems. Describe the cause and effect of a particular event, whether that event is in a story, a moment in history, a science experiment, or even if you present a math problem with the incorrect answer, they can explain the cause and effect. Strategic thinking is where you start asking them those surface level questions, possibly. How do you know? Show me in the text. Or you might ask them to compare 2 different characters in a book. How do you know? Show me the evidence. We start looking at the author's purpose and how the interpretation of the affects the reading and selection. So the author's purpose for writing something, how does their point of view on that topic affect what we're reading? And then level 4 is now we're taking everything, we're putting it all together, we're creating things, we're improving things, and we're making connections, whether it's within content across different cultures, or we're making connections across contents. These are the types of digital tools. They typically fall into 4 categories. I intentionally left out the 4th category because any one of these can fall into that 4th category. Audience response systems, freeform collaborative platforms, structured collaborative spaces, and study tools. So our audience response systems, these are not all of them. These are the 3 that I use the most. We have Kahoot, real-time formative feedback in the moment. You can have the students sign in with their name or do it anonymously, and it doesn't require a lot of class time to prepare. The problem is many of the enhanced features for Kahoot are on a paid subscription, which is costly, and you can only do multiple choice questions. Then we have quizzes, very similar to Kahoot in the sense it provides formative feedback in the moment. It doesn't take a lot of class time to use, but it does guide you through designing quizzes, and it lets you include the students in the quiz writing process. And you can use multiple types of questions. However, many of the enhancing features for quizzes also requires a paid subscription, which can be very costly. The last one for audience response that I chose was Pear Deck. These give you real-time results and include a variety of question types. As far as I know, it is only an add-on for Google Slides, so I put that as a con because I do know that there are some schools and districts that are Microsoft-based and others that are Google-based. And it does take time of trial and error to learn how to incorporate Pear Deck activities into your slide decks. Next, we have freeform collaborative platforms. These are like your Jamboard and Google Slides. These are both Google-based. Jamboard is basically a collaborative whiteboard. You can have everybody on the same whiteboard. You can set them up on different Jamboards, pose a question, pose an activity, and have them work together on the same document. And it's a good way to track students' thinking. And you can see who is doing what. And similar to Google Slides. However, if I give a student a blank canvas with a question or a task, it can be overwhelming for the student. And also with Google Slides, for as tech savvy as our students are, you may have to take additional class time to teach how to format the slides. And then we have our structured collaborative spaces. These are your Google Docs, your Google Sheets, a Padlet, or a Google Meet even, where you can have multiple users in the same space at the same time doing different things. However, due to the structure, the creativity may be limited. When it comes to Google Docs and Google Sheets, Padlet, a lot of the accessibility features are kind of lacking. And you can include almost any media options to add certain things to Padlet's appearance are very limited. And then for Google Meet, there is a limit of how many people can be on a Meet at the same time. The more people on a Meet, the more you may have connectivity issues. So when we look at digital tools and DOK levels, some of these can go across many. So you have Kahoot, quizzes. GimKit is one that I have a lot of friends that are teachers that use. I have not personally gone into the GimKit rabbit hole. Elastic is one that I enjoy using. I can create assessments based on standards. And I can see in real time how my students are performing on the entire assessment, or I can look at it by standard or by question. This is one that can be across the board. Level 2 is more the Nearpod, the Pear Deck, the Jamboard, the quizzes, the paid version of quizzes, because this is where you can start getting more of the drag and drop questions, the compare and contrast using graphic organizers, and things like that. Then we have strategic thinking. These are your Google Docs, your Google Slides, your Nearpod, Pod, and your Padlet. And then your extended thinking is you're looking at a Jamboard, a Padlet. You might get on a Google Meet with your friends if you're working on a project to talk it out. These are a few of my favorite digital tools: Nearpod, Kami, Kahoot, BrainPop, Quizzes, and Learning A to Z. Nearpod, Kahoot, and Quizzes are web-based platforms. Kami is an extension that I use on Chrome that makes PDFs editable. BrainPop and Learning A to Z are learning platforms that provide teachers a wealth of resources and activities for students. However, they do require a paid subscription. And typically those come from your district. So now we're going to look at a sample lesson. And our topic is states of matter. The reason I chose this topic is this is what I'm currently working on with my 5th graders. The materials they are going to need is their Chromebook. For this lesson, I am going to use BrainPop and Kami. Now, the learning objective for my students is I want them to describe how each of the following properties is different from state to state by completing the states of matter graphic organizer. So the first thing I'm going to do is I went into BrainPop, I went to states of matter, and I downloaded the graphic organizer, and I uploaded it into Kami. So now my students have their document that they're going to be working on. They're going to get their information while we watch the movie from BrainPop. Prior to watching a movie, you get to choose a set of pause point questions. So these are kind of like a checkpoint to see what the students are understanding. So I'm going to choose 3 to 5 because that is the grade band that I am teaching. I'm not going to watch the whole video, but I'm going to show you what these look like. So we watched the first 48 seconds of the movie or video, and we're being asked, what is an example of matter? Our students have varying needs. I teach special education, so my students are on a spectrum of abilities. Some students are able to type in their answers. Matter is, and then explain what they heard. Some students are able to articulate it verbally, and here they can record their answers. Some students struggle with the language process. So you know what? Take what you heard and draw me a picture. And they do have to submit these before we move on. Okay? And we keep going through. Now we have a question about what is true of a liquid. Another question asking for an extended response. And that's as far as it'll let me view unless I watch the video. You can also do this in Spanish, exact same activity. The only difference is the language. As my students are watching this, we're going to do this 2 times. The first time we're going to do this as a class. We're going to answer the questions as a class. And then we're going to go back and we're going to watch and we're going to stop. And on their Kami document that I have assigned them through Google Classroom, right here, they're going to add in information about mass, temperature, volume, chemical structure, and particle movement. We're going to pause along the way as we do this, and my students are going to enter their information. Very similar to BrainPop. I was just doing an assignment. Now I have to stop.